Report story. Chapter 11. Are you sure you want point? Mirio asks, fearless with the questions despite the dark look in Rabbit's emerald eyes. Sue wants to laugh at the two, but she's so strung out right now, she's genuinely not sure if she starts laughing or crying. Are you sure you want to be the person standing between me and DiMaggio? Rabbit snarls back, not even bothering to look at the man as he tugs at his gloves. He's changed, put on the formal ensemble that he seems to usually wear when he's doing business. Not his combat suit, not the armored, fitted suit that meant he was kicking ass and taking names. And he's standing calmly, hands tucked into his pockets, but his body language betrays his rage. It's found in the tightness of his shoulders, the soft scowl that's stuck on his lips, the flash of lightning that keeps surging and dying in his eyes as he looks around. Where's Ingenium? His voice is cold, but not quite a snarl when it's directed at her. Eat a ribbit, she parrots into the radio. Status. Building. Came the breathless reply. Almost. Rabbit reaches over, slow and steady despite his grip being firm and ferocious as he peels the radio out of her hands. Move faster. You can hit Mach 3. You can scale a fucking building. And he hands it back to her, crossing his arms. A pause and then, Hitoshi. I have the voices. Came the reply. Don't worry about check-ins. Rabbit, are you? She trails off, unsure how to continue as the emerald fire in his eyes focuses on her. Oh, okay Ribbit. No. He turns back to the building, leaning back against the black sedan. I'm impatient. Uraraka is inside there, DiMaggio is doing God knows what, and I am itching to tear him limb from limb. He sighs, closing his eyes and steeling himself. He flexes his fingers, and it seems like he's actively trying to calm down. But I have to wait on Ingenium to take out the snipers before I go in. He says it less like it's a step in the plan he concocted in less than an hour, and more like he's trying to remind himself he's not bulletproof. Sniper 1 out. Ingenium wheezes into the comm, and 2 and 3. Rabbit whirls on her, hands flexing, but he restrains the itch as she brings it up. 4. She asks for him, because she's honestly not sure he can say it without growling. Slicer is on him, taken down. Then I'm going. Rabbit replies, dusting off his coat as he turns and walks to the building. Kirishima, he calls, and the unbreakable hero runs to flank him. Cover the side, Rabbit instructs. Lemillion purses his lips, rushing after him and forcing her to follow the 2 other heroes and the one absolute madman. Uraraka had told her the secret. That Rabbit was quirkless. That for 7 years, one of the most wanted men was just a plain Jane man who used nothing but his own wits and cleverness to evade dozens of heroes and policemen. She swallows, resting her gaze on that man's back. He doesn't look so quirkless now, walking along like he's invincible, flanked by a man who practically was, and another that was just untouchable. Promoted stories. You'll also like. Her prince from the underworld half demon is. 0.25.9K 450. It's basically the same story as my succubus Momo X Deku story. I know, real original, but hey, now you guys get a Deku from the other side of the tracks. Much needed love. Yandere succubus Momo X Izu. 51.6K809 after Wattpad. Had decided to delete this story out of nowhere, I and many reader were distraught. So I'm making a remake of the story from the ground up to compensate. After all, Fluke 11.4K802. Will edit once I'm free. This is a work of fiction, and any similarity with other works is purely coincidental. Excuse grammatical errors and misspellings, eng. Siro Deku Onishots 31.5K798. Because of circumstances, this book won't be continued, unfortunately. Feel free to check out my other stuff. Thank you for understanding. The Kings and Queen Yandere Wakfu X Reader 57.6K 1.8 Kyonder. Wakfu X Reader. Images do not belong to me unless stated. Wakfu does not belong to me, it belongs to Enigma. This is being rewritten in another book on my profile. Mirko X Shy Male Reader 172K 1.1 Key. Don't own MHA. I hope you enjoy the story I made. Return of Mokuten discontinued 3.5K 45. This story is officially up for adoption. If anyone is interested, message me or comment on the story. Idly, she wonders if he knows just how much like a hero he looks like. Walking into danger just to save the life of another person. Someone he no doubt loves, but someone else, nonetheless. Lemillion, DiMaggio will have guards stationed inside. Find the ones in the vantage points, take care of them. Rabbit directs as they near the warehouse doors. I'll get the doors. Kirishima hesitates, obviously looking like he wants to do it, but Rabbit waves him off. This is a deal, not a fight. He waits for them to move out of sight, then heaves the heavy metal door aside. Keep out of sight, he growls it, the screech of the door covering that direction. It's lucky they're already to the side, and as Rabbit steps up to the threshold, Red Riot and her press to either side of the door. Ah, there's my little rabbit. DiMaggio laughs, and it sounds like gravel thrown into a dryer. Rabbit bows, all snark and sass as he lingers in the threshold. He hums, lips moving silently before declaring. I'm flattered you upgraded me from 4 bruisers to 3 gunmen and 5 bruisers. He chuckles and shakes his head. Well, I figured you'd bring company. DiMaggio replies. Though, I suppose it wouldn't have mattered. Snipers. Rabbit asks, like he doesn't already know, like he didn't already have Iida take them out and Hitoshi copy their voices. How unbecoming of a mafia man. Have to protect my investments. A pause, and Suyu wishes she could poke her head in and see what was going on. Rabbit had given numbers, but there was no telling where the occupants were, or what they were using without Rabbit being obvious. Do you have what I want? Rabbit hums, reaching into his back pocket and pulling out a little black notebook. He pages through it calmly, and the scuffle of feet on the other side of the door is unnerving. She exchanges a look with Kirishima, and the hero gives her a thumbs up. At least if a gunfight broke out, Red Riot could grab him and protect him. Block 7, Meguro City, Building 4. Rabbit replies. It's a physical feeling, the shifting of control as those words exit his mouth. What? DiMaggio snarks back. What's that? An address. Block 33, Building 9B. He doesn't respond but continues rattling off the addresses. Block 17, Building 3C. Block 18, Building 1. Block 34, Building 9. Building 11 as well, who someone knows his neighbors. Why do you know that? One new voice shout, and the rattle of metal on metal makes her tense. Ryu. Rabbit hums to himself, and she can see him flipping through the pages of his notebook. 33, Building 8A. Unmarried, 2 divorces, 3 children, does not have custody, lost the case 4 years ago, arrested twice for possession of drugs, once for distribution, 3 times for disorderly. He pauses. Fukuoka Daiichi High, Musashi Jr., Yamamura Primary. Rabbit looks up. Brothers, right. So, I guess that's why I only came up with one address. He smiles and laughs. The hell are you on about? So he knows where you live. I know where you live, and I'll fucking kill you if you don't shoot him now. DiMaggio roars, and the slide of steel on steel makes her flinch. They're ready to shoot. She looks to Kirishima. He's already ready. His skin hardened, teeth gritted, and he braces against the wall, flexing a little. He's ready. Rabbit doesn't need it. 4148 Westwood Street, California. Silence. Pre-med major, graduated with honors, GPA of 3.1. Sue looks at Kirishima, and they both shrug at one another. Lives with her mother, divorced twice, but well off. Sold the last house, 2118 North Sukan Street, again, California. Rabbit hums, those of you that would like to still have a home, and accordingly, all the things that reside in that home. He hesitates, and it's only because the next word that crawls out of his throat is a hiss. Leave. It's a mass exodus, a clatter of metal on concrete as weapons are dropped, and shoes rush. 5 men rush out the door, bypassing both of them and running for the gate. It's otherworldly. Kirishima eases into the room, and Sue does as well. It's standard warehouse. Catwalk running across the top of the warehouse, 3 gunmen there. They're stopped at the doorway, where Lemillion has appeared, arms crossed over her chest. It's near humorous how her grabs them, escorting them out the door like a teacher scolding children. DiMaggio is trembling, the handgun held to Uraraka's head. She looks good, a little bruised and banged up, a trickle of blood coming down from her hairline, but otherwise fine. Her eyes are burning into Rabbit's, some unknown argument going on between them, but it's put on hold as DiMaggio works the slide. I'll fucking kill her if you touch my girl. He roars. Rabbit smiles, and it's unsettling how he went from unstable rage to cold and calculated. She paints her toes maroon because that's always the color you wear when you see her. The gun shakes, trembling in DiMaggio's hand as Rabbit eases a step forward. The villain slides his hands into his pockets, returning the notebook of secrets to the safety of his pants. He walks halfway across the room before DiMaggio turns the weapon on him. Not a step closer. The mob boss demands. Rabbit comes to a halt, hands calmly in his pockets despite the weapon aimed at him. Put the gun down, DiMaggio. Rabbit growls, and for just a moment she sees the calm falter, the rage flash through his eyes. I hold the cards this time. DiMaggio barks back, taking a step back back until he's standing behind Uraraka, holding the gun to the back of her head. So you're listening to me. It's quiet. Quiet in a way that the wind stops before a hurricane. Or even the quiet after an earthquake when everyone's trying to figure out what happened. In this case, the natural disaster is replaced with the flex and grit of Rabbit's teeth. If you don't remove that weapon from her head right now, he hisses. I will rip out every bone in your body and force feed it to you through a straw. A shiver goes up Suyu's spine, but she swallows and remains standing. That kind of threat, she'd heard. She'd heard worse snarled out of other villains, shouted at her as she'd locked them away in a cruiser. But this one she believes. DiMaggio swallows too, cocking the hammer back. Got a bullet in here for you too. There's a singular second where time freezes. A singular moment where everything glides to an icy halt, her eyes dancing between the gun, Uraraka, Rabbit and DiMaggio. There's no good solution. DiMaggio doesn't hold all the cards, but he holds enough. Where was Mirio? He could get them out of this. He could. It's a burst of lightning and a flash of darkness at the same time. It's a crackle of energy and a reverb as the inside of the building explodes, a shockwave that shouldn't have happened but did. She flinches, ducking away before ripping her eyes back to the situation. DiMaggio could have pulled the trigger. Uraraka is safe. Rabbit has the gun to one side, a dent in the concrete a few feet to her right. The barrel of the gun is still smoking, but he again doesn't seem fazed by the heat. He's focused completely on DiMaggio. Get her free, he commands, and it takes a moment for her to realize who he's talking to. It's her. It's Kirishima. Oh shit. She scrambles, jumps forward and fumbles with the chains as Kirishima shatters them. Get her out, he commands, and once again, his voice is like iron, cold and impersonal. Strong, and don't come back in. DiMaggio is shaking, teeth gritted as he glares at Rabbit. So, you got me here. Now what? 206 bones in the body DiMaggio. Rabbit replies softly, let's see how many of them I can break at once. And if she hears a scream when she walks out. It doesn't go in her, or Kirishima's report about the incident. She doesn't ask if Rabbit did what he said he did to DiMaggio or not. She's not truly sure she wants to know. But when Rabbit drags the mafia boss out of the warehouse later, both of them bloodied and grim-looking, she averts her gaze and instead focuses on Uraraka. She's awake, dehydrated and hungry, but alive. She smiles at him, but there's a hint of fear in her eyes. Suyu doesn't want to look and know what pain Rabbit is capable of causing for the sake of her partner's safety. It's scary enough seeing how he reacted to losing her temporarily. She doesn't want to think about what would happen if something else occurred. Hey there, sunshine. His voice makes Suyu jump, clinging to the side of the ambulance as her head whips around to look at the villain. He's changed. Sort of. He's removed the bloody shirt he walked out in, and his hands are bare, white skin exposed under the cruel sun. He doesn't seem to mind, and instead steps into the middle of the heroes, dropping to his knees in front of Uraraka. Are you okay? He nearly whispers it, but the amount emotion strung out in those 3 words makes her throat tighten up and her chest ache for him. He's one scary villain, but he's one hell of a man too. He extends his hands out, open-palmed and waiting. I know you saw a side of me that probably scared you. He whispers, ignoring everyone else around him as his eyes focus on Uraraka. But I promise you I will never hurt you. And I'll do anything you ask to prove it. I want to make this work. Uraraka nods, smiles at him weakly as she leans back. Supervised dates, she asks, and it's weak and a meek 2 words that escapes her lips, but it's the smile that blooms on her lips after that lets Sue know her partner is okay. Rabbit smiles, everything about his so suddenly gentle and soft it's just, unreasonably, cliché. His fingers fumble with hers, and he brings it up to his lips, kissing the back of her hand as gently as he can. I'd even let All Might supervise it if it lets me see you. He replies with a smile. Are you okay? Doing better now. She hesitates, and the quirk of her lips lets Sue know there's a hard question coming. You said you were quirkless. Rabbit shrugs like it's the easiest question in the world. Not my quirk. What? But if it mean protection I'll use anything I can get my hands on to keep you safe. Sue rolls her eyes, unable to quite bear the intimacy of the moment. All right, Ribbit, she interrupts. Let's clear you. You, little Mr. Rabbit, you have some explaining to do in a future to decide on. She purses her lips and tries to look intimidating to a man that moves in the blink of an eye and handles mafia mob bosses like they're common thugs and playthings. In you, she glares at Uraraka, her friend, her best friend, her partner, her study pal at UA, her motivator when cases were tough, and they were both drowning in paperwork. Her favorite person to lovingly annoy. You need to get cleaned up for your man. A pause. And there better not be any babies unless I get to be the aunt. It's mind-bogglingly fun how easy it is to get both of them to blush, and fumble over themselves denying the no I don't not yet I mean unless you. No I not maybe after marriage, but Eraserhead would kill me my mom wants a wedding, sue you. She smiles and laughs and shakes her head. So, he's scary. So, he's probably the most dangerous villain they've ever met, not because of strength though he has that but because of connections and knowledge. He's still just a man in love with her best friend. And that entitles her to give him as much hell as she can. And if the sterling smile Rabbit gives them all is any indication, she'll have all the time in the world to do so. Chapter 12. Is it really witness protection if you're basically just watching your boyfriend? Slicer hums into the calm, and while some of her comments are way off base, this one is on point. Uraraka huffs, rolling her eyes. He's still a villain didn't quite work anymore. Transitioning vigilante. She replies, and it's just lunch. It's not like I'm taking him for the rest of the day. Tuesdays were usually busy days for her agency anyway. Tomorrow would be wonderfully free. And if she was annoyed about Eraserhead getting him all of her day off, then that was her business. When is he classified as a civilian? Slicer chirps back as Uraraka bounds over the next building. Zero gravity really helped when you were late for a lunch date. Next year in February, she replies automatically and rolling her eyes at the karo laugh that comes in from the other end of the comm. Sue. She hisses. I just know it 'cause he's keeping me informed about it. Like he's keeping us informed about the ring he's getting you ribbit. Suyu replies, and if she wasn't already weightless, she'd be floating up into the lower atmosphere. As it is, she's pretty sure the blush on her face has enough heat it could replace the sun for a bit. Sue. And even if it's embarrassing, she laughs too, and the calm crackles with the karo laughter that she's grown so used to hearing recently, accented by the snickers of Slicer. She lands on the next building, stumbling another step forward and shaking her head. Come on, Sue. It's only a year and a few months. She sighs. If he proposes right now. She rolls her eyes. Gosh, she wonders if he'd have asked her parents. They did go up and see them recently, a few weeks back when one of her new cases took her out to the country. They'd taken a detour just to see them, and Izuku had introduced himself. It hadn't been a long visit, but she shakes her head. No, she did not need thoughts of one Izuku Midoriya and one very sparkly diamond ring in her head right now. No, I'm going to be hopping off the comm for a bit. She lets Froppy and Slicer know just as she slips off the side of the building. It wasn't uncommon for her to meet Izuku for lunch. But it was uncommon for him to specify where he wanted to meet, and more specifically, what restaurant as well. Usually he left that to her. And usually he'd take the check. They'd fight over it, he'd skip away and pay for it always in cash, and always with a laugh, informing her that just because he wasn't in the business of trading black market information didn't mean he didn't have the profits from doing so. He'd been getting into day trading lately, and his casual zeal for it was a little ridiculous. Not quite as ridiculous as his casual profits from it, but she slips around the corner of the building, vaulting the roof ledge and drifting down to the sidewalk. With a huff, she unclips her helmet, tucking it to the side and walking the rest of the way to the little soup and sandwich shop. The last time she was here had been to talk with Yagi-sensei, and that was, gosh, had it really been nearly a year and a half ago? She shakes her head, scanning the tables. Izuku liked sitting outside. She doubted he'd change that just because of the new eatery. And spotting him is easy. Dark green hair, fingers knit together, holding his head as he leans back in the little metal wicker chair. He's wearing a pensive look, but his lips spread into a tentative smile. And the reason why is his company. Why Yagi? She asks, hesitating as she approaches the table. The retired symbol of peace hums, looking back at her with tired but focused eyes. Ah, Uraraka. He smiles at her and it looks genuine, despite his company. I was just talking with young Midoriya here. He gestures to her boyfriend. And he shrugs. Making amends, I suppose. Apologizing rather. Izuku supplies, and his tone is bright and chipper, and it's so unexpected she's not truly sure what to do. Why? She hesitates, afraid if she speaks it, the tentative peace between the two will shatter. Izuku charges through it, fearless as usual. Because he's a part of your life. Like it's obvious. And if I'm going to be a part of that, then I think I need to settle some long overdue disagreements. She blinks at him, frowning. A year since DiMaggio. A year where he'd been cycled through the heroes around here, most of which were her classmates. And back and forth all over. How long have you been? She starts, unsure how to finish that thought. He smiles, planning, since the first real kiss. DiMaggio just sped up the timeline. He hums, looking back at Yagi. He extends a hand, and Yagi accepts it. You will be. Yagi hesitates, then smiles. You are. He corrects, a great man, and I'm proud that you found your own path. He pauses, then purses his lips. I'm sorry you had to find it on your own. I should have. Izuku shrugs, shaking the man's hand and pulling away. You said what you thought was right. Perhaps not kind, but right. He settles back in his seat. But no, you shouldn't have said what you did. But you recognizing that is a step towards you knowing what you could have done instead. You're still a lot of people's role model, All Might. Even if you're no longer mine. Yagi nods, shuffling his feet before getting up. Well, I'd better get going, he mumbles, easing to his feet. Izuku watches, emerald eyes flickering over him. Take care, he replies, and they part like distant friends instead of two people that shattered the other's futures. She collapses into the empty chair Yagi left, blinking a few times before fixing her boyfriend with a withering look. You've been talking to people. Well, I save all my puns for you, and all my flirtatious remarks. Izuku replies, all sunshine and cheer. But I suppose I've been persuading the heroes watching me to let me visit some specific individuals. She glares at him but can't keep it up as she rolls her eyes and huffs. All right, fine. She hesitates then, looking at the empty table. Did you already order? I knew what you wanted. He replies with a smile. And I even ordered something to go for Frappy. I assumed she'd cover your lunch break. Damn, how did she find this man? Oh right, on a stakeout. Because he's an ex-criminal. She rolls her eyes at him, because honestly that's the best response she can manage at the moment. Izuku doesn't fault her for it, and instead fills her side of the conversation with an easy laugh and a wriggle of his eyebrows like he knows information she couldn't even fathom. Which probably isn't too far off course. But he doesn't hide it from her. Not since he started moving from one end of the court to the other. Not since he started slipping more information to heroes than to villains. Not since he started shuffling trade routes and sliding other false tips out to be delivered. Letting heroes gain the edge that makes all the difference in fights. How he got away with it was his secret. But he made a point to never be shady about his personal doings. His laptop was always in reach. The password texted to her one afternoon when she mentioned she was curious about his files on her. His credit cards and debt card password written down and slipped into her hand the first time she furrowed her brows at him purchasing a new helmet rig for her. His habits told to her through hours of watching movies, holding hands and muttering little hopes and dreams to each other. She wants to own an espresso machine. He's concerned being a university teacher. His schedule seamlessly dropped into her phone. Little pink blocks filled in letting her know when he had free time. Almost all of those were spent with her. And his transparency was, remind me why no girl wanted to date you in middle school. She asks, deciding to voice her thoughts instead of just simmer in them. He cracks a smile and winks at her. Quirkless, he reminds, then slips into playful flirting once again. Besides, I saw my future with you and knew I had to save up every bit of affection I could to spoil you. God, was he just made of sugar? You're ridiculous, she huffs, rolling her eyes. Did you invite Yagi or did he ambush you? Invited. We had some things to discuss anyway. He replies with a shrug and something between a grimace and a smirk. But the discussion has to be put on pause because the waitress arrives with 2 sandwiches and a to-go box. And honestly, she's not sure anything has looked more beautiful than Izuku knowing exactly what kind of sandwich she wants after a patrol. BLs are kind of classic. He dismisses the notion altogether that he's fantastic, and instead picks up his grilled cheese, something she desperately wants to tease him about, but pointedly can't. So, she says, chewing and swallowing and trying not to moan in bliss. Food. Food that's been ordered by your boyfriend. Yagi. She broaches, watching him take a bite, chew 3 times and swallow. We had the discussion about his quirk. He shrugs. Turns out he already knew, figured I got it when Mirio lost it, because he didn't feel like the quirk itself vanished. And your decision not to use it. Izuku takes another bite, humming while he chews. He washes it down with a swig of water before, disagrees, but understands and sympathizes. He wants it to be used, but he also agrees it's getting too powerful for casual use. And he'd rather it be in my hands, capable but unknown and unused, instead of someone else's who's volatile and not as. He hesitates, rummaging around for a word. Inclined to consider consequences, he settles on the phrase and she snorts because it's just so like him. So he's good with it then. What about Lemillion? Being a little bitch. And she actually does snort at that, snapping her eyes up to consider his expression. He wants it back, but he knows he can't. It doesn't shuffle back and forth like that. So he's stuck. I think he'll pester me about becoming a hero till the day he kicks the bucket. She laughs, shaking her head because it's ridiculous. In the last year Mirio had settled into the number 2 spot, and his following and fanbase were only growing by the day. For him to be jealous was something she had a bit of trouble seeing. And with me, he smiles at her again, a 1,000-watt smile that puts Lemillions and All Mights to shame. It's so genuine and bright and clear and sweet, and it's saved only for her, instead of broadcasted to millions. We both know the only thing I'll use this quirk for is for you. Helping or saving. He replies, taking another bite of his sandwich. The rest of lunch is calming, settling as they shuffle back to more light-hearted topics. Who's picking him up after lunch? Shoto, Apparently they play chess and Izuku works with him on temperature control while they do. When she's coming home late, she and Froppy are logging a report about an influx in muggings in the past couple weeks, what she wants for dinner, because he cooks and she will never not be grateful, and then it turns to a topic she's not completely sure. Your mother called recently, is the starting line, and it makes her suspicious because she's sure her mother doesn't have Izuku's number. Oh, she mentioned wanting us to come up next holiday. Or going on a trip. He looks up at her, teeth biting his lower lip as uncertainty sparks in his eyes. It's an unusual occurrence that anything unsettles the once unflappable villain rabbit, but she sees it more as Izuku Midoriya. What does Dad think? He thinks you need a break from hero work and is willing to put away time off and money to do so. Izuku snorts. Not that I'd let him pay. He mumbles that she attributes her father's latest raise in Izuku's casual integration to her life. She's not quite sure if she's mad at him for that, or thankful. So she's settled on just not addressing it at a whole and pretending he didn't have anything to do with it. Well, I guess I'll have some time off in the fall. There's usually a downtick in street-level work when it gets cold, before the holiday season where it picks up. She reasons. I can make a few requests to the contacts, I still have to populate some other areas. Izuku adds, and the eagerness with which he presents that suggestion makes her suspicious. The entirety of it is suspicious. I'll talk with Sue. She stalls, and he lets her. Instead of pressing, he just nods, slides his plate to the center of the table and leans back in his chair. That's fair. He sighs, stretching in the chair before considering the city around him. Where do you want to live? He says, you, in a way that makes her think he means, we. She shrugs. They've had this discussion, mostly in relation to her apartment, since he's basically moved in under pretense of continual observation. He sleeps on a futon in the living room. They cuddle, he carries her to bed and rubs her back. Mina is convinced they're doing things. Things is only accurate if it can be defined as running through her Netflix to watch list, and deciding they don't want a cat, dog, child, live-in roommate, or fish in their next apartment. Izuku wants a garden, because he wants something to do if he takes up day trading. She wants a balcony and privacy to lay out and bake in the sun and nap. I like the countryside, she admits. Less bustle of the city, probably a lighter caseload, but I dunno if that's exactly hero location. He smiles. I'm sure I could make it. She glares at him. You are not giving me extra work. And then she laughs, shaking her head. We'll see. Heroes have to live in the city to make any headway in the rankings. All right. He folds his fingers together, lacing them behind his head and considering her. I can start looking at some houses in the suburb if that's a good compromise. She considers it, unsure where the topic came from. House. He shrugs. Forward thinking. Like what he's just proposed is nothing. Like if she wants fried rice or onigiri for lunch instead of if she wants to commit to buying a house instead of renting an apartment. 4. Nothing you have to worry about yet. He hedges, giving her a smile. I think your lunch break is up. He adds, pointing over her shoulder. She whips around, scowling as she sees a man with wheels for legs zip down the sideway, a purse in hand. You are not getting out of this conversation that easily, Rabbit. She growls, looking back at him. Another time then. He settles as she takes off, vaulting the railing and rushing off in pursuit of the mugger. She's going to figure it out eventually. Izuku glances up, eyes trickling around the side of the table to consider his new company. Todoroki Shoto is an interesting man, but one that's quickly settling firmly into a category that Izuku would reserve for a best friend or perhaps, best man. Well, of course she is. Izuku replies, snapping the velvet case closed and sliding the box into his pocket. It wouldn't be any fun if she didn't have all the clues to see. Shoto sighs, shaking his head as he gets up from the chair. He doesn't comment, simply strolls away, forcing Izuku to get up and accompany him or else he lose his muse, and technically his escort. At this point, he's not sure if the heroes view watching him as a job, or a forced hangout with a friend. He's not opposed to either option for most. Going for a rematch today. Izuku teases, brushing up against Shoto's left side. We're 43 and 39. You're catching up. Shoto hums, but his mood is betrayed by the spark of flames that flecks off his fingertips as he gets the car door. Don't gloat. I've been studying, he says. Besides, you can't gloat to me when you're losing to my fiancé. Izuku rolls his eyes, sliding into the car. Yeah. 53 to 72. He sighs. I can't concentrate when she's reciting the chemical makeup of the board. Shoto smiles, or as much as the man does, a quirk of his lips, a flash of teeth hidden by the thinning of his lips as he presses them together. Jeweler first though, he says. Jeweler first. Izuku agrees, considering the weight in his pocket. It's short something very important, and while he could ask a favor from Kriti, and get her to make one, she thinks it might be better if he buys it himself. Besides, her father was pretty explicit in saying he couldn't swindle his daughter with some fake or stolen ring. He had to buy it, and who was he to deny his future father-in-law? Chapter 13. Izuku Midoriya was not hyperventilating. He was simply breathing. At the same rate of his heart. And that was fine. Hey. Breathe, little hero. Izuku blinks, forcing himself to stare at the man in front of him, the hero in front of him. Waxilium, Ladrian, once a retired hero, but recently back in the field, who had flown all the way from Arizona to London to Mustafa to attend. At not his Ochako's request because, I want to see the hero that helped make you a man. And through some twisting of his arm and some affection-bribed confessions she'd gotten the man's address out of him. And now the man he'd nearly been adopted by, and now was in Japan, and even if his Japanese was a little choppy, and even if Izuku hadn't seen him for years, the man was still every bit the same as he was 3 years ago. Grizzled Western cowboy dragged to the modern age, with all the charm and chivalry and wit, but all the soft reassurance of affection and care that he always had. I'm here. Izuku replies, exhaling suddenly and trying to focus himself on the man in front of him. Wax smiles, patting his shoulders and smoothing out the wrinkles on Izuku's suit jacket. Wax is dressed similarly, but since Ochako opted for a more Western wedding, and Izuku already had a place for him in the ceremony, he wasn't quite matching. The older gentleman has changed in the recent years though, and the severe lines on his face had lightened with age, even if a few more wrinkles dotted Wax's brow, and the age in his eyes was starting to show. But the man was still hero material, as he rose to his full height, a bit above Izuku to ruffle his hair. "We've talked about this little hero." He winked. "You love her. She loves you. Quit worrying about it." Izuku knew all of these. Knew them just like he knew that Wax was back in the field and Marissa, his cousin-in-law and a detective for the Scotland Yard, was somewhere out in the stands, likely with a pair of handcuffs. Knew that Ochako would be in a white dress and that she would be absolutely stunning, and that before her would be Momo Todoroki and Tsuyu Asui. Knew that beside him would be Shoto Todoroki and Wax. Knew that he had the rings. Knew that his official last name was now Laudrian. "Oh my god, I'm getting married." Izuku breaths, sliding his fingers through his hair. Wax laughs, shaking his head and patting his shoulder again. "And that's a big deal because..." Izuku just looks up at him. "I'm getting married," he repeats, because it's a baffling proposition. He's still in his 20s. He's a year out of dealing information in black market schemes and making million-dollar transactions with a dozen emails and 2 clicks of his mouse. He's a year into dating Uraraka Ochako. He's 2 months engaged to Uraraka Ochako. Rabbit. Shoto interrupts his mid-wait. No, he's too young to have a mid-early life crisis. He snaps his eyes to the half-and-half quirk user, surprised when he watches the man step forward, slit around Wax and secure a soft pink rose to Izuku's suit collar. "Relax," Shoto encourages. "Please." Izuku swallows, nods and smiles. Right. This is fine. This is good. This is fine." He's not panicking. "Oh, okay." He smiles, nods, shrugs, because fuck, he's nervous. He can feel the sweat pooling in his palms. Like a deal gone wrong, he feels like guns and missiles and explosive ordnance being shifted to target him. It's like being back under Shigaraki's thumb or Dabi's flames. "Breathe, little hero." Wax hisses in his ear, and again his hands rub soothing circles in his back. "Ceremony's starting. Get out there." He nods, blinks and nods and swallows the spit in his mouth as he steps out the side door of the chapel and walks stiff-legged up to the altar. He's so thankful Ochako pushed for a Western hybrid wedding. He's so thankful that it's air-conditioned and inside instead of outside at a shrine. He's so thankful that he doesn't have to walk Wax through the intricacies of anything more than the 3 cups. He's so thankful that she said yes. God, he's just so thankful she said yes. And then that bombshell drops again in his mind like it has been for the past 2 months. She said yes. She said yes. Yes. And then "I'm getting married. I'm getting married. I am 23 years old and I am getting married." Wax claps him on the shoulder, squeezing it a bit harder than strictly idly reassurance, a silent threat gleaming in his eye, and underneath the folds of his suit Izuku is suddenly very aware of shape and coloring of a pearl revolver. Of course Wax Lodrian, lawbringer and Western hero, was packing heat in a church. Oh God, he was officially related to this man, now he was never going to get away. Shoto is next, walking his wife down the aisle before they split in the middle. Momo feels weird to think Momo instead of Kriti for so long, flashes him a smile that only makes him feel more nervous. There's a small group of people in the chapel. Not an overwhelming amount, but the people that both he and Ochako had agreed won. Aizawa lazes in the back, head tilted back as he squeezes eye drops into his perpetually dry eyes. And the man reminds him so much of Wax while being the furthest thing from the grizzled old man. They're both rough around the edges, just in different ways. Eri is beside him, smile occupying the majority of her expression as she beams at him. It's adorable to see her so happy, so cheery. He's ready to see her more regularly. Mirio is beside her, sandwiching his adopted child between her adopted grandfather, and he gives him a smile and a thumbs up. They still have their disagreements. Always will. But Izuku is glad that at least their relationship isn't completely defined by one for all. Class 1A occupies the majority of the people here. Kirishima elbowing Kachan to pay attention. Ashita snarling at them to both be quiet if she'd melt them into the carpet. Iida is trying, failing, to keep the peace between them all. He finds the detective next. Marissa Holmes, Wax's cousin through his late wife, and Wax's technical +1 that Ochako insisted on having because his side looked so pitifully empty. He didn't have the heart to tell her that Marissa had been gunning for his arrest since she landed. She shoots him the stink eye, but then glanced around, either to exchange a look with Wax, or to the other people in the room. And finally, her expression softened and she graced him with a small smile. Just a small one. He wasn't expecting miracles from the textbook detective. The music made him focus more than the words of the priest. A piano intro that makes his eyes snap forward to focus on the doors. The creak of the ancient wood doors as they rock forward on the hinges. Brass sliding smooth on itself as it carries their great weight forward. Another iteration of the same action in their life. But for the hinges it might have been just a numeration of functions performed. For the piano it might have been just another series of keys played in one specific order once again. Even for the church it might have been one more ceremony that took place within the halls. For the priest it might have just been one more wedding. But for Izuku Midoriya, once those doors swing open and he locks eyes with the girl who has galaxies in her eyes, and a heart that bleeds for the people that need saving, that one moment. That one moment as she steps through the doors and into the chapel. That one moment when he realizes everything else has frozen. That one moment when her lips hint at just the barest traces of a smile. That one moment when he absorbs everything about her. The sheen of the light in her hair. The faintest blush on her cheek. The innocent smile that graces her lips. The look in her star-filled eyes. That one moment is the moment he knows she is the one. If he didn't already know it, he knows it now, that one moment. Breathtakingly gorgeous, and no words, no poems, no sonnets, no songs, No paintings will ever be able to properly explain the ache in his chest and the way his breath sweeps out of his lungs in a gasp. Or the way his eyes tears up, sliding down his cheeks as she smiled at him. She is. Oh, she's just so. God, he is so lucky to have her in his life. And she is. Oh, she is just so beautiful. And he doesn't even need to hear it from Wax as the man leans up, dabbing Izuku's cheeks dry with a handkerchief before pressing a different one in his hand. You're a lucky man, Wax assures, now dry her eyes like a gentleman or I swear I'll shoot you. He doesn't doubt it, he just hopes it's not somewhere vital so he has enough time to get through 3 cups and the rings and so he can say, I do. End. Where stories live. Discover now.